Is it real or is it hype? What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about a project that I am in love with. As you know, scrolling through my channel, I bumped into the Telcoin guys a couple months ago, and a week ago or so I posted up a video that I put together for them. I'm not affiliated with them. I only met them we happened to be at the same conference in Venice Beach, California. This was back in October when I was a young pup to the crypto space. I met Claude and Yace from Telcoin, and really Yace took the time to explain to me what Telcoin was. We happened to be sitting at the same table, and he started telling me about this product that they already have, and they were just making the rounds at the conferences trying to raise awareness for the problem that their company is addressing, which is a huge problem, and it's the problem of remittances in micropayments, essentially, on a global scale. So I'm gonna break that down for you in a second, but first, let me just start with that disclaimer, a proper disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I am not your financial advisor. If you want me to be your financial advisor, probably not gonna happen. This isn't investment advice. Not investment advice. This is just my attempt to articulate and answer some of the questions that I've seen in the Telcoin community Telegram chat channel. I want to bring value to this company because I believe in the project. So this video is the result of that desire. Question number one. Is it real or is it hype? I'm going to answer that question because I think that's really the question that needs to be addressed when you decide to look into a particular project, especially when it just hits an exchange and it's just post ICO. You want to know, is this really bringing value? And if it is really bringing value, what kind of value is it bringing, right? Because there's so many kinds of projects out there. The space is flooded with cryptocurrencies. There's a lot of froth. There's a lot of coins that will die out in the coming years, you know, and people really, you know, when I'm putting my money on the line and backing a project, like, you know, I'm vulnerable. I want to know if it's real. And that's really, I think, one of the motivating factors, the driving psychological factors behind this question that I see asked time and again, you know, over the last half day that I spent on the Telegram community channel for Telcoin. Is it real or is it hype? So this is obviously from one person's perspective. I am nobody. I am not some guru. I am not your guru. I am not even my own guru. I'm just a human being just like you. I do my due diligence. I ask the kinds of questions that I think make sense to ask, that are important to ask, like who's the team? What does the market look like? What is the actual product? You know, if the product is a solution, what is the problem that it's supposed to be a solution to, right? How big is the market demographic? How is that market going to interact with that particular product or service? Is there going to be huge hurdles for that market, that demographic, to actually use the product? We all know that in cryptocurrency, it's really hard to navigate the space just because the user interface and the user experience is just so at the beginning of where it will be in several years from now. From my personal perspective, it's not hype. And now I shall explain why. Basically, Telcoin is addressing the problem of peer-to-peer remittances. Remittances is just a fancy way of saying paying someone. So in America, we have this service called Venmo, but Venmo doesn't work on a global scale, right? Also, Venmo is basically centralized through an intermediary, so it still faces some of the slowing down problems that banks typically face, which is a double entry ledger system. It's a centuries old system where basically one institution keeps a ledger and another institution keeps a different ledger, and at the end of the day or at the end of the week or at the end of the quarter, they compare the two ledgers to see if they're the same, and they better be the same, right? So that's the typical model. Usually when people are trying to pay other people or they're trying to send money to other people somewhere across the globe, it costs money. You know, you pay a fee to wire money, or you pay a fee to render money through PayPal, or you pay a fee to get your bank to send it somehow to that other person's bank. So there's no real instant, efficient, peer-to-peer way for someone who doesn't know what KYC is, doesn't have a fancy digital wallet, doesn't have a Bitcoin public address, doesn't know what a private key is. For a regular person who's not into crypto at all, for that person to send money to her mom on the other side of the world, right? Right. So the way that they frame it is, look, there are only 1.2 billion bank accounts in the world. So if only 1.2 billion people in the world have access to banking services, what are the rest of the people doing in order to get money from point A, which is on one side of the globe, to point B, which might be on the other side of the globe? So their answer is, well, let's turn it around and let's think about, instead of sending money through banks, why don't we send it through our phones? So there are 5.6 billion mobile phone users in the world, at least. And the number is probably growing rapidly. Everybody basically has a phone. Okay, but not everybody has a smartphone. That's fine. With Telcoin, you don't need to have a smartphone. They actually use feature phones, which I forgot to look for that old feature phone that I have. It's like a flip phone or something like that. I think my kid uses it for playing around or whatever. But basically, you don't need to have a fancy smartphone that costs $1,000 anyways to begin with, which people who are unbanked in countries in need wouldn't have access to those types of expensive status symbols anyways. They would have a regular feature phone. And even with regular feature phones, you can use Telcoin services to send money from Dubai to LA, or from LA to Paris, or from Paris to Canada, I don't know, from Canada, anywhere in Canada to Thailand, right? So what they're doing is they basically flipped it and they said, okay, well, we know that most of the world is unbanked, and we know even more of the world doesn't have a clue how to use cryptocurrencies. So what is the technology that everybody has access to, that everybody's actually using, that we can harness in order to get this service out there? And the service is to send money from point A to point B, from me to my loved one in Berlin at no fee. Have it be instant, have it be usable, have it be so simple that basically if my mom were alive, she would be able to use it. I miss you, Mom. I do miss her. So that's what they're doing. They're basically building out this entire product, and they already have a proof of concept. They've already partnered up with a bunch of telecom operators around the world. They're already doing the due diligence of being compliant across the board. So if you look at their white paper, which I encourage you to at least glance at, and if all of that wording is like too much, then start with page 26 of the latest version. I think it's page 26, 27, 28, where you can see the various roadmaps. So there's like a compliance roadmap, a product roadmap, something else roadmaps, all kinds of roadmaps. Anyways, cool. So that's what they're doing. They are building a product that can be used by most of the money using world in order to provide the service of remittances. So whenever I think about investing into a particular company in the crypto space, I always do like a market analysis, just, off the cuff, like common sense stuff. Like, okay, if I were to build a product, what would the biggest user base be? Now, if my user base is only like 2 people in LA, that's probably going to be a very limited reaching product. The reach of the product is going to be very limited. But if I'm making it as simple as the person only needs a feature phone, there's 5.6 billion mobile phones out there, which includes feature phones and smartphones. That's something that I'm going to say, aha, okay, so they have a very wide user base. Next, I'm going to look at whether or not it's feasible. And this is where doing your due diligence is going to help. You want to kind of look at the white paper. Maybe you don't have all the time in the world to spend looking at the white paper. Jump on the chat channel and ask somebody an informed question. Hey, where can I find the roadmap? Or hey, I didn't understand this part about the roadmap. What I love about Telcoin is that within the community, everybody is on the chat channel. Everybody's asking questions. I'm pretty much on there, at least in the background watching. And if somebody's question goes unanswered, I try to chime in. I know that their admin and their community admin managers are like always on there. Even the co-founder, Claude gets on there. His handle is Claudio. And even the other co-founder, Paul, gets on there. And the marketing director, Yace, they all get on there, which brings me to the last point that I'll cover in whether or not Telcoin is real or hype. If you know anything about VC venture funding, you know that especially in the early stages where the product is built but it hasn't been deployed, you know that basically you look at the team. You look at the people that constitute the team. You look at the founders. Look at the CTO. What kind of team do they have? How coherent is that team? How cohesive is that team? Do I actually think that this team is going to pull it off? Is this team authentically invested? Now, I know that these are a bit more like subjective qualities, but that's the way that VC funding for these early startup companies work. It's about the team. It's about the people. I didn't meet the entire team. I only had the good fortune to meet Yace and Claudio, but they were like straight up authentic. I felt like I could trust them, which is funny because having met so many other teams in the interim, right? You vibe with certain ones and you don't. They just felt very genuine. They answered every single question of mine that I had. Even when I asked the same question in like 3 different ways, they really took the time to answer to make sure that I clearly understood. And that was a hard task for them because I hadn't even read the white paper. I just sat down next to them to have lunch, So Telcoin is real. Telcoin is not all hype. If you're interested in investing in Telcoin, I suggest you look at the exchanges. Today it was released on KuCoin. Before that, it was only on Ether Delta and IDEX. Look at the exchanges, look at the price, do your own analysis, get out there, get into your community, talk to other people. Hey, have you heard about Telcoin? Whichever community you're linked up with in the crypto space, talk to somebody and be like, hey, have you heard of them? If they haven't heard of them, maybe you can do an analysis together, cursory analysis over a beer. It doesn't have to be super serious, right? Just talk to somebody and start that conversation. Does this look like a viable project to you? I'm pretty sure if you got your head screwed on right, it's gonna seem like a winner. Seems like a winner to me, but who am I? I just do my extreme due diligence and hop in there, with 2 feet to see if this is something that I wanna back. And, I do. So, cool. Telcoin, real or hype? Real.
Got my spotty senses jingling, I rin 10, 10, 10.